All right, guys, I went 3-1 on my 4 personal bets on my website yesterday. But before we get into some more of that, just want to take a quick timeout and welcome you to the video here today for Saturday. I think it's July 16th, 2022. My name is Brock Page, and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. I also sell my personal bets on patreon.com/BrockPage. And once again, guys, I went 3-1 on my 4 personal sports bets on my website yesterday. Now, you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on YouTube and what I do on my website. Well, what I do here on YouTube is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side and total. And what I do on my website is I actually share with you which one of these free YouTube picks on my channel that I'm actually betting on personally. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and get into some free content. We're going to take a look at the White Sox squaring off against the Twins, 2:10 p.m. East. Minnesota's -120, totals 8.5. Dylan Bundy for the Twins, Lance Lynn for Chicago. And even though Lynn's had a rough go of things, he's still averaging just about a strikeout an inning. Now, the White Sox have also played some really good baseball here recently. They're currently on a 4-game winning streak, and they also got the W in 6 out of their last 8. Now, Tim Anderson, he's leading the club in batting average right now. He's hitting .313 at the dish. Meanwhile, Luis Robert, he's the club leader with 54 runs batted in. Now, they're taking on Dylan Bundy here today, who's got an ERA quickly approaching 5. Now, the Twins also dropped 6 out of their last 8. And their lineup's striking out an awful lot at home this year. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Minnesota's last 4 at Target Field fell under the number. Meanwhile, the White Sox went 70% to the under in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward the White Sox plus $1 and the under 8.5. Next contest, it is going to be Reds Cards, 2:15 East. St. Louis is -175, totals 8.5. Miles Michaelis for the Cardinals, Nick Lodolo for Cincinnati. Now, Lodolo's been getting knocked around a bit. He's got a .444 ERA and a 1.60 whip. The Reds are also winning just 36% of their road games, and their lineup's striking out more times a game than most clubs in the National League. They're also going up against Miles Michaelis, who's got 88 strikeouts on the year himself, along with a really impressive .98 whip. And even if Michaelis runs into some trouble here today, this Cards lineup loves to hit the baseball. They're in the top 10 in team batting average. Of course, they got Paul Goldschmidt, who can literally do it all at the plate. Goldie's hitting .329 with 19 home runs and 67 RBI. And as a matter of fact, Goldie's currently in the top 5 in the bigs in batting average, runs batted in, and OPS. Now, total-wise, St. Louis is 12-6 to the over in their divisional home games. Meanwhile, Cincinnati's gone 64% to the over against NL Central opponents on the road. I'm going to lean towards St. Louis -1.5 and the over 8.5. Next contest, it is going to be Mets-Cubs Game 1. That's going to be a 2:20 Eastern start time. The Mets are -135 on the road, total 7.5. Taijuan Walker for New York, Marcus Stroman for Chicago. Now, Stroman's got just 2 wins through 51-plus innings, along with a .491 ERA. Now, the ice-cold Cubbies are also on a 7-game losing streak, and their lineup's striking out more times a game than most clubs in the National League. They're also taking on Taijuan Walker here today, who's been real good this year. Walker's 7-2 with a .264 ERA and a 1.10 whip. And even if for some reason Walker runs into some problems here today, this Mets lineup can score with the best of them. These guys are in the top 10 in team batting average, top 3 in scoring. When it comes to the number, New York's 27-20 to the over while traveling this year. Meanwhile, Chicago went 22-15 to the over against NL opponents at home. I'm going to lean toward the Mets -135 and the over 7.5 in Game 1. Next contest, Royals Blue Jays 3:07 East. And this game's currently off the board. Daniel Lynch for Kansas City, Max Castillo possible for Toronto. And if Castillo does end up getting the start, he's definitely made the most out of his limited action this year. He's currently got himself a 2.30 ERA through 15-plus innings, along with a .83 whip. Now, the righties also fanned 18 batters in just 15-plus innings of work. And as a team, the Blue Jays won 3 out of their last 4 ball games, and they do a pretty nice job getting on base. Matter of fact, the Jays are in the top 3 in the big leagues right now in team batting average, and they're led by Alejandro Kirk, who's batting .313 at the dish. Meanwhile, Vlad Guerrero is the club leader in homers and RBI. The Sluggers got 20 bombs on the year and 56 runs batted in on the season. Now, they're taking on Daniel Lynch here today, who has been less than stellar this year. The lefty's just 3-7 on the season with an ERA close to 5. He's also backed by a Royals lineup who can't hit for shit. These guys are in the bottom 5 in runs, bottom 10 in homers. I gotta stop saying that. I mean, it was funny like the first 100 times I did it, but like we're really beating that dead horse there. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Toronto winning that ball game outright for some money line cash. All right, next ball game, Pirates Rockies 310 East. Colorado's minus $1.25. Totals 11.5. Jose Urena for Colorado. Mitch Keller for Pittsburgh. Now, Mitch is just 3-6 with a .488 ERA and a 1.48 whip. Meanwhile, offensively at the plate, the Pirates are scoring fewer runs a game than most teams in the majors. They're also in the bottom 3 in strikeouts per game at the plate as well. So can't score, can't hit the baseball. Really just not a great hitting lineup here. Now they're taking on a Colorado team who scores a whole lot of runs in Denver. CJ Cron's got a team best 21 home runs and 69 RBI. Now, Cron's actually 3rd in the bigs in that RBI category. Meanwhile, teammate Jose Iglesias is hitting a team-leading .302 at the dish. And even though starting pitcher Jose Urena has less than 7 innings of work under his belt this year, he certainly made the most of those innings. He's currently got a 1.35 ERA and a 1.20 whip. Now, total-wise, 7 out of Colorado's last 10 meetings with Pittsburgh fell under the number, so if you're into historical trends, certainly want to think about that one there. Meanwhile, the Pirates went 70% to the under in their last 10 this season themselves. I'm going to lean toward Colorado minus $1.25 and the under 11.5. Next contest, Braves Nationals 4:05 Eastern start time. Atlanta's minus 250, totals 8.5. Max Fried for Atlanta, Paulo Espino for Washington. Now, Espino's still looking for his first win of the season. He's actually 0-2 through 52-plus innings. The Nats are also struggling to score runs. They're in the bottom 5 in homers, and they're actually averaging only 3.9 runs per contest. Now, they're also squaring off against Max Fried here today, who's been excellent this season. Fried's 9-3 with a .256 ERA and a 1.07 whip. The lefties also struck out 105 batters already. And if for some reason, even if Fried ends up, getting banged around, a little bit here, the Braves can certainly outscore anybody. They're currently in the top 3 in homers, top 3 in OPS. Now, Austin Riley, he has a club-leading 23 home runs, along with 60 RBI. Meanwhile, Dansby Swanson's batting nearly .300. He's currently the team leader in batting average. When it comes to the total, 7 out of Atlanta's last 10 ball games fell under the number. Meanwhile, Washington went 60% to the under in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Braves minus 1.5 and the under 8.5. Next ball game, Mariners Rangers 4:05 East. Seattle's minus 145, totals 8 runs. Logan Gilbert for the Mariners, Spencer Howard for Texas. And despite how terrible Howard's been this year, he's still averaging a strikeout an inning. He's also backed by a Ranger lineup of hitters who can certainly do some damage. They're very capable of that. They're currently in the top 5 in home runs, top 10 in runs scored. Corey Seager's leading the squad in homers and runs batted in. Seager's actually 9th in the big leagues right now with 22 home runs. Now they're taking on a Mariners club on the other side who they're certainly red hot right now. Maybe not a wise choice to fade the hottest team in baseball right now. But guys, they aren't all too flashy with the bats. I mean, they're not going to put up a million runs a game. They're actually in the bottom 10 in team batting average right now. And they're scoring fewer runs per contest than most teams in the American League. Now, total-wise, 5 out of Seattle's last 6 road games did get over the number. Meanwhile, the Rangers went 7-1 to the over in their last 8 at Globe Life Field. I think the Rangers should be able to keep this one close. They may not win it outright, but they should be able to keep it within a run. I'm going to lean toward Texas plus 1.5 and the over 8 runs. All right, next ball game I have for you, it is going to be Orioles-Rays, 4:10 p.m. East. Now, Tampa Bay is minus 120 at home, total 7.5. Ryan Yarbrough for Tampa Bay, Dean Kramer for Baltimore. And as good as Kramer's been this year, the O's really struggle to score against Tampa Bay. They're averaging only 3.3 runs a game in their last 10 meetings with the Rays. Now, the O's are also still struggling with the bats a bit. They're in the bottom 5 in OPS, and they're striking out more times a game than most teams in the league right now. Now, they're taking on a Rays team on the other side who won their last 5 straight, and they scored 27 total runs during that span. Yandy Diaz is the team leader right now in batting average. He's hitting just about 300 right now. He's, like 1 point shy of 300. Meanwhile, G-Man Choi, he's leading the charge in the RBI department for the Rays as well. And when it comes to divisional contests, Tampa Bay is currently 15-6 against the AL East in the Trop. So that is a great record. AL East, really a good division right now. So to have such success against solid teams, that's a great home divisional record. Now, total-wise, Tampa Bay is going 14-7 in the under against the AL East at home. Meanwhile, the O's are 28-20 to the under when they travel. I'm going to lean toward Tampa Bay minus about 20 and the under 7.5. All right, next ball game, it is going to be Tigers-Guardians, 4:10 Eastern first pitch. Cleveland's minus 165, totals 8.5. Cal Quantrill for Cleveland, Michael Pineda for Detroit. Now, Pineda's put up some pretty good stats this season. He's got a 3.58 ERA and a 1.19 WHIP. The Tigers also have a winning record against the run line on the road this year. They're taking on a Cleveland squad who doesn't particularly hit for power. These guys are actually in the bottom 3 in homers per game right now. They also have Cal Quantrill on the mound here today, who's got a 1.31 WHIP and an ERA basically at 4. So Quantrill has proven that he can get himself into trouble. Now, when it comes to the scoring in this one, 6 out of Cleveland's last 10 outings fell under the posted total. Meanwhile, the Tigers went 60% to the under in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward Detroit plus 1.5, keeping this one close, and the under 8.5 runs. Next matchup, A's-Astros, 4:10 Eastern first pitch. Houston's the heavy $3.60 favorite, total 7.5. Justin Verlander for the Stros, Jared Koenig for Oakland. Now, Koenig's got himself a 6.38 ERA and a 1.75 WHIP. Not very good numbers. He's also walked more batters than he's struck out. And if for some reason he can turn it on here today and have a solid, outing, there's still a good chance he won't get much run support to back it up. The A's are currently dead last in the bigs in team batting average and OPS. Now, they're also going up against Justin Verlander here today, who's got 11 wins on the season already, along with an ERA of 2 flat. Now, Verlander's also punched out 98 batters already. He also has a .87 WHIP. Now, he's also backed by a Houston lineup who loves to hit for power. The Stros are currently in the top 3 in homers, top 10 in OPS. Of course, most of that is thanks to Yordan Alvarez, who has a league-leading 1.058 OPS. Now, Alvarez is also hitting 306. That's his batting average. And he currently ranks third in the majors with 26 home runs. Now, total-wise, Houston's seen nearly 70% of their divisional ball games this year fall under the number. Meanwhile, Oakland saw 7 out of their last 9 fall under the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward Houston minus 1.5 and the under 7.5 in that tight window. All right, next game, Phillies, Marlins, 4:10 Eastern first pitch. Philadelphia's minus $1.15, total 7.5. Ranger Suarez for the Fightins, Max Meyer possible for Miami. And if Meyer does end up getting the start, this will be his debut here for the Marlins. And, well, I'll tell you this much. He kind of does find himself in a tough spot. The Marlins lost 6 out of their last 10, and their lineups really struggled at the dish this year. These guys are currently in the bottom 10 in strikeouts, bottom 10 in scoring. They're also going up against Ranger Suarez, who's 6-5 on the year with 64 strikeouts. And of course, the Phillies can score with the best of them. I mean, this is going to be a really tough game for this youngster. The Fightins are currently in the top 5 in runs per contest, top 10 in homers. And you're probably going to have to face Kyle Schwarber at least 2 to 3 times. Schwarber has a team best 28 homers and 57 runs batted in. Schwarber is actually second in the bigs right now in that home run category. Now, when it comes to the total, oddly enough, 6 out of Philly's last 7 road games did fall under the number. Meanwhile, Miami went 5-1 to the under in their last 6 at Lone Depot Park. So I'm going to lean toward the Phillies minus $1.15 and the under 7.5. Next contest, Bo Sox, Yankees, 7:15 East. The New York Yankees are minus 165 at home, totals 8.5. Jameson Taillon for New York, Nick Pivetta for Boston. Now, Pivetta's ERA is above 4 right now, and his whip is approaching the 1.25 mark. And as a team, the Bo Sox have struggled to get the W here recently. They lost 7 out of their last 10, and they're actually toward the bottom of the barrel in the American League in home runs per game. Now, they're also squaring off against Jameson Taillon, who's been pretty good this year. He's 9-2 with a 1.18 whip. This Yankee lineup is also just downright scary. I mentioned the other day about them, kind of being the 2022 version of Murderer's Row. They're currently leading the bigs in scoring, OPS, and home runs. Of course, Aaron Judge has a league-leading 31 homers. He also ranks 5th in RBI. Meanwhile, Anthony Rizzo and Giancarlo Stanton, they've combined for 46 total home runs between the two of them. Now, when it comes to the number, 7 out of New York's last 10 meetings with Boston got over the number. So, once again, if you're into historical trends, plenty of overs to go around. They also went 8-2 to the over in their last 10 ball games this year. Meanwhile, Boston, on the other side, they went 70% to the over in their last 10 outings themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Yankees minus 165 and the over 8.5. Next ball game, Brewers, Giants, 7:15 Eastern start time. San Francisco's minus $1.25, totals 8 runs. Alex Cobb for San Francisco, Eric Lauer for Milwaukee. Now, Lauer's having a pretty good season. A lot of strikeouts for the lefty. He's got 96 Ks and just 89-plus innings of work. He's also 6-3 on the year with a 3.83 ERA and a 1.20 whip. Now, the Brewers are also playing their best baseball on the road this year. They've got 29 wins while traveling, and they're actually amongst the best in the league in road scoring right now. Willie Adames is the club leader in home runs. Rowdy Tellez has a team best 55 ribbies. They're going up against Alex Cobb here today, who's certainly struggled this year. Cobb's just 3-4 on the year with a 4.57 ERA. Now, Cobb also has a whip that's quickly approaching the 1.40 mark. And even if Cobb ends up getting the job done here today, he may not get the run support he needs to get the W. The Giants are in the bottom 10 in team batting average, and they're striking out more times a game than most clubs in the National League. Now, total-wise, the Giants are 21-15 to the over against NL opponents at Oracle Park. Meanwhile, the Brewers are 25-19 to the over against National League competition on the road. I'm going to lean toward Milwaukee plus 105 in the over 8. Next game, Mets-Cubs game 2. That's going to be an 8:05 Eastern first pitch. Now, the Mets are minus 220 in game 2 with a total at 7. Max Scherzer for New York, Drew Smyly for Chicago. Now, Smiley's just 2-5 on the year with an ERA above 4. The ice-cold Cubbies have also lost their last 7 straight, and they're striking out more times a game than most clubs in the National League. They're also going up against Max Scherzer here today, who's a strikeout machine. Max is 6-1 with 79 strikeouts in just 62-plus innings. Scherzer's also got a 2.15 ERA and a .83 whip. And once again, if for some reason Max finds trouble here today, this Mets lineup can certainly bail him out. They're in the top 3 in scoring, and they rarely strike out at the plate. Now, total-wise, once again, the Mets are 27-20 to the over when they bat first. Meanwhile, Chicago's going 27-20 to the over themselves in the friendly confines. I'm going to lean toward the Mets minus 1.5 and the over 7 runs in game 2. Next matchup, D-backs, Pods, 8:40 p.m. East. San Diego's the $1.75 favorite, totals 8 runs. Sean Manaea for San Diego, Tyler Gilbert for Arizona. Now, Gilbert's still looking for his first win of the season. He's 0-3 on the year with a 5.33 ERA. Now, the D-backs also can't hit for shit. We're going to stop saying that. That's really bad language, but they can't hit for shit. They're in the bottom 3 in team batting average, bottom 5 in OPS. They're also squaring off against Sean Manaea here today, who's struck a whole lot of batters out this year. He's just 3 strikeouts shy of 100 already. He also has a 1.21 whip. As a matter of fact, this Padres pitching staff is currently in the top 5 in the bigs and opponent's team batting average. Now, total-wise, San Diego's 26-17 to the under at Petco Park. They're also 22-15 to the under against the NL West. I'm going to lean towards San Diego minus 175 and the under 8 runs. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the video here today. It is going to be Dodgers taking on the Angels. And that's going to be a 10:07 Eastern first pitch. Now, the Dodgers are minus 195 as the away team here. Totals 8.5. Julio Urias for the Dodgers. Jose Suarez for the Angels. Now, Suarez has just 1 win on this season. He also has a 4.79 ERA and a whip above 1.50. Now, the Angels have also really struggled at the plate here this year. Kind of started off hot, but just collectively not getting the job done at the plate. They're actually in the bottom 5 in team batting average. And they're striking out more times per contest than any other team in the majors. They also have to face Julio Urias here today, who's got 7 wins on the season, along with a 1.05 whip. And even if Urias gets shelled here today, which probably won't happen, but if he does get into some trouble, his lineup scoring more runs a game than any other team in the National League right now. Freddie Freeman's hitting a team-best .319 at the dish. Meanwhile, Trey Turner's in the top 10 in the majors with 65 runs batted in. Now, total-wise, 3 out of the Dodgers' last 4 away games got over the number. Meanwhile, the Angels went 60% to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Dodgers minus 1.5 and the over 8.5 runs. And with that, guys, now it's time for our quick pick recap. Powered to you by my website at patreon.com/BrockPage, where I went 3-1 in my personal sports bets on that website yesterday. I like the White Sox plus $1 under 8.5. Give me the Cardinals minus 1.5 over 8.5. I like the Mets minus 135 over 7.5 in game 1. I also like the Blue Jays winning that game outright for some money line cash. Give me Colorado minus $1.25 under 11.5. I like Atlanta minus 1.5 under 8.5. Give me Texas plus 1.5 over 8. I also like Tampa Bay minus 120 under 7.5 runs. Give me Detroit plus 1.5, under 8.5. I like Houston minus 1.5, under 7.5 runs. Give me Philly minus $1.15, under 7.5. I also like the Yankees minus 165, over 8.5. Give me Milwaukee plus 105, over 8 runs. I also like the Mets minus 1.5, over 7 in Game 2. Give me the Padres minus 175, under 8 runs. With my next and final free pick for the video, I'm going to lean toward the Dodgers minus 1.5 and the over 8.5 runs. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my website. Now, guys, if you do end up getting a membership here today on patreon.com/BrockPage, just keep in mind, you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today on my website, you're going to get access to that membership every single day all the way through the end of July. I do always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. And guys, if you want to get access to every single bet, every single package, every single day, you're going to want to sign up for my board member package. Board members, get access to all that stuff. It's an all-inclusive membership. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Saturday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.